The 9 a.m. meeting I'm not prepared for. The text messages I left on read 3 days ago because I didn't have the emotional bandwidth to respond. The decision I've been putting off for weeks because I'm terrified of making the wrong call. The stack of bills on the kitchen counter that I keep flipping face down so I don't have to look at the amounts. That's the lie that feels truest at 3:47 in the morning. That I am the one holding the universe together. That my effort, my planning, my control is the only thing standing between order and chaos. And if I slip, if I make one wrong move, one missed deadline, one disappointing conversation, the whole house of cards comes crashing down. I reach for my phone. It's a reflex at this point, the muscle memory of 1,000 anxious mornings. My hand is shaking slightly as I pick it up. Not because I'm cold. Because my nervous system is already in overdrive, flooding my body with cortisol before the sun has even thought about rising. But this time, I don't open my email. I don't check Slack. I don't scroll through the news or social media, filling my brain with more noise before I've even had a chance to breathe. Instead, I open my Bible app. And I don't even know what I'm looking for. I'm not some super spiritual person who wakes up every day with a perfectly curated quiet time. Honestly, half the time I open this app, I'm just desperate. Desperate for something to hold on to. Desperate for a lifeline. Desperate for a voice that isn't my own anxious thoughts. My thumb scrolls aimlessly, and then it stops. Proverbs chapter 3. Verses 5 and 6. I've read these words 100 times. Maybe you have too. But this morning, they hit different. I read them slowly, out loud, my voice barely a whisper in the darkness. Trust in the Lord with all your heart and lean not on your own understanding. In all your ways submit to Him, and He will make your paths straight. I stop at that first line. Trust in the Lord with all your heart. It sounds so simple. So Sunday school. So easy to nod along with in a church service when the worship music is playing and everything feels inspiring. But at 3:47 in the morning, when your chest is tight and your mind is racing and the weight of the world is sitting on your shoulders, those words feel almost offensive. Trust? Right now? When everything in me is screaming to take control, to fix it, to figure it out, to plan for every possible outcome? And then the next part, lean not on your own understanding. That's the one that gets me. Because leaning on my own understanding is basically my full-time job. I analyze. I strategize. I calculate. I run through every scenario, every possible failure, everything that could go wrong, trying to prepare myself for the worst. And I call it being responsible. I call it being a good provider, a good husband, a good leader. But Proverbs calls it something else. It calls it leaning on my own understanding. And it tells me to stop. I sit there in the dark, phone glowing in my face, and I realize something I've never admitted out loud before. I am exhausted from trying to control everything. I am worn thin from living as if the entire world depends on my decisions. I've been carrying a weight that was never mine to carry, and it's crushing me. The memories flood in, unbidden. The job I didn't get, the rejection email that came on a Tuesday afternoon while I was sitting in a parking lot, staring at the words "we've decided to go in a different direction." The relationship that fell apart no matter how hard I tried to hold it together. The business idea that failed. The door that slammed shut so hard I felt the echo for years. All those moments when my best efforts weren't enough. When my planning didn't work. When my control slipped through my fingers like sand. And maybe, just maybe, that's the point. Maybe those moments weren't proof that I failed. Maybe they were invitations. Invitations to stop leaning on my own understanding. Invitations to trust a God who sees what I cannot see, who knows what I cannot know, who holds a future I cannot control no matter how hard I try. The verse whispers a different way. A way of surrender. A way of release. Not passive resignation, not giving up and doing nothing. but a deliberate, daily choice to place my life, my decisions, my fears, my failures into hands that are infinitely more capable than mine. Hands that shape the mountains and set the stars in place. Hands that aren't trembling at 3:47 in the morning. Hands that have never dropped anything important, not once, in all of history. Here's the truth I'm holding on to this morning, and I'm going to say it as plainly as I can: surrender is not failure. It is placing today into the hands that shaped the universe. That's the memorable truth. Write it down if you need to. I know I did. I don't feel some magical wave of peace wash over me. Let's be real, this isn't a movie. My chest is still a little tight. My mind is still tempted to spin back up into planning mode. But there's something different now. A small, fragile thread of hope. A tiny crack of light in the darkness. A whisper beneath the noise that says, you don't have to carry this alone. So I do something simple. Something almost embarrassingly small. I grab a sticky note from my desk, one of those bright yellow ones that usually holds grocery lists and meeting reminders, and I write 4 words: Lord, lead my steps today. I place it next to a cold cup of coffee that's been sitting on my desk since yesterday afternoon. It's not a grand gesture. It's not a dramatic declaration. But it's my way of saying, I'm not in charge today. You are. And maybe that's where faith begins. Not in the big, triumphant moments. Not in the perfectly crafted prayers or the worship songs that give you goosebumps. But in the quiet, desperate, 3:47 a.m. decision to stop gripping the wheel so tightly and let someone else drive for a change. But here's the question that haunts me as the first gray light of dawn starts to creep through the blinds. It's the question I think we all wrestle with, whether we admit it or not. It's the tension that sits at the center of a life of faith. How do we actually trust when everything inside us screams to take control? The room is quiet now, but it's not the peaceful kind of quiet. It's the kind that presses in on you. My coffee went cold hours ago, that sad, room-temperature brown liquid that tastes like defeat and indecision. And here's what nobody tells you about surrender: it feels a lot like losing at first. Because I was raised on the gospel of self-reliance. You know the one. The unspoken creed that says your worth is measured in productivity, in hustle, in having the answer before anyone asks the question. And somewhere along the way, I started believing that my value to God operated on the same twisted logic, that He only wanted the polished version of me. It was 3 years ago. I had done everything right. I had prayed. I had fasted. I had sought counsel from people wiser than me. I had worked harder than I'd ever worked in my life. And then the door didn't just close. It slammed. Hard enough that I felt the vibration in my bones for months afterward. My phone buzzed with the email. We've decided to go in a different direction. 11 words. That's all it took to unravel everything I thought I knew about how God works. And here's the question that haunted me then, the question that's still hovering in this cold coffee, early morning silence: what do you do when you trusted God and He still let you fall? Maybe you've been there. Maybe you're there right now. That moment when the prayers bounce off the ceiling and come back unanswered. When you've quoted every scripture, claimed every promise, stood on every word, and the situation still didn't change. The marriage still crumbled. The diagnosis still came. The child still walked away. The money still ran out. That's the mirror moment right there. I know you felt it. That memory rising up unbidden, the time you wondered if God was actually paying attention. The time you questioned whether He cared about the small, messy details of your life, or if He was too busy running the universe to notice you drowning in 3 feet of water. I've been there. I'm still there some mornings. And if we're being honest, that's the hardest part of faith, not the big theological questions, but the small, desperate ones whispered at 3 a.m., are you there? Do you see me? Does any of this matter? And that's exactly where Proverbs 3 verses 5 to 6 hits different. Not when life makes sense, but when it doesn't. The writer doesn't say, trust in the Lord with all your heart when it's convenient. He doesn't say, trust when you've exhausted all other options. He doesn't even say, trust when you understand. He says, with all your heart. Not part of it. Not the leftover pieces after you've given your anxiety and your planning and you're controlling the best hours of your energy. All of it. The whole messy, doubting, exhausted thing. And then he goes further, and this is the part that used to offend me. Lean not on your own understanding. Now hold on. Because my understanding is all I've got. My understanding got me through school. My understanding built my career. My understanding helped me make good decisions and avoid bad ones. Are you telling me that's worthless? No. That's not what the verse is saying. It's not that our understanding is bad. It's that it's limited. It's like trying to navigate a city using only a photograph of one street corner. The photograph isn't lying to you, it's accurate as far as it goes. But it doesn't show you the traffic jam 3 blocks ahead. It doesn't show you the bridge that's out. It doesn't show you the detour that will actually get you home faster even though it feels like you're going the wrong direction. God has the satellite view. We have the street-level snapshot. And when we insist that our snapshot is the whole picture, we make terrible decisions based on incomplete information. I think about all the doors I begged God to open. All the opportunities one was certain I needed. All the relationships I fought to hold together. And I wonder now how many of those would have destroyed me if God had said yes. How many times did His silence protect me from something I couldn't see coming? The breakthrough didn't come when I figured it out. It came when I realized I couldn't. Here's what I'm learning, and it's still not easy for me to say, God is not threatened by my doubt. He's not offended by my questions. He's not sitting in heaven, arms crossed, tapping his foot impatiently while I wrestle through the dark. The Psalms are full of people crying out, "How long, Lord? Will you forget me forever?" And God didn't strike them down for it. He wrote their words into Scripture. He preserved their questions for thousands of years. Because He'd rather have our honest doubt than our fake faith. Picture a father holding his crying child. The child doesn't understand why she can't have the shiny thing that will hurt her. She doesn't understand why the medicine tastes bitter. She doesn't understand why her parents won't let her run into the street. And the father doesn't need her to understand. He just needs her to stay in his arms while she cries. He can handle the tears. He can handle the questions. He can handle the why screamed into his chest at midnight. That's how God holds us. Not demanding explanations. Not requiring perfect theology. Just wanting us close. And that's the memorable truth I'm holding on to this morning, and I need you to hear it. Faith isn't having all the answers, faith is knowing who's holding your questions. Read that again if you need to. I did. Multiple times. Because for so long, I thought faith meant certainty. I thought it meant never doubting, never wavering, never lying awake at night wondering if I'd missed God's voice somewhere along the way. But that's not faith. That's pretending. Real faith is bringing your confusion to the one who isn't confused. It's admitting you don't know what to do and trusting that He does. It's the trembling hand reaching out in the dark, believing there's someone there to grab it. I look at the sticky note on my desk. Lord, lead my steps today. 4 words. That's all I've got. And I'm starting to think that's all He ever wanted. Not a detailed plan. Not a perfect performance. Not a flawless faith that never struggles. Just a heart that says, I can't, but you can. Just a willingness to stop gripping the wheel so tightly and let someone else drive. And then I realized what God truly wanted from me this morning. And this is where everything shifts. Not in the meeting. Not in the solved problem. Not in the answered email. But right here. on my knees beside the bed. Lord. My voice cracks on that one syllable. I don't know what today is going to look like. I don't know which decision is right. I don't know if I should push forward or pull back. I don't know if that door I've been knocking on is locked for a reason or if I just haven't knocked hard enough. The silence in the room changes. It's not the heavy, pressing quiet from earlier, the kind that felt like judgment. This is different. This is the kind of silence that listens. I know you're the one who leads me, though. And then the dam breaks. I start praying through my actual day. Not the Instagram version. The real one. The 9 a.m. meeting, Lord, I'm not prepared for it. You know that. I've been avoiding those notes for a week. Give me clarity in that room. Give me words that don't come from panic. The texts I haven't answered. The ones sitting on read since Monday. Lord, I don't have the emotional bandwidth to craft perfect responses. Give me the courage to just type something real, even if it's I'm struggling right now but I haven't forgotten you. The decisions I've been putting off. The ones that wake me up at 3 a.m. and stare at the ceiling with me. I'm terrified of choosing wrong. I'm terrified of the consequences. I'm terrified that I'll look back in 6 months and realize I made a mess of everything. Lord, open the doors that align with your will. My voice is steadier now. And close the doors that lead to harm. Even if those doors look good from the outside. Even if everyone else thinks I should walk through them. Even if I think I should walk through them. I think about the opportunities I've chased that would have destroyed me. The relationships I fought to keep that were draining me dry. The yes I was so eager to give that would have pulled me miles away from where I needed to be. Give me wisdom for my thoughts. I press my palms flat against my knees. Because my thoughts have been running wild lately. They spiral. They catastrophize. They replay old failures like a highlight reel of shame. I picture my brain as a browser with 47 tabs open. The anxiety tab. The regret tab. The what if tab. The comparison tab that one's been running nonstop, refreshing every time I open social media. Renew my mind, Lord. Quiet the noise. Turn down the volume on fear and turn up the volume on truth. I pause. Breathe. Give me encouragement for my attitude. Because honestly, I've been bitter lately. Snapping at people who don't deserve it. Resentful of people whose lives look easier than mine. Cynical in conversations where I should have been gracious. This one stings to admit. It's easier to pray about circumstances than character. But here I am, on the carpet, naming the ugliness I usually hide. And give me peace for my emotions. They've been all over the place. Up, down, fine 1 minute and falling apart the next. I'm exhausted from trying to manage them. I'm tired of pretending I'm okay when I'm not. Here's the mirror moment. This is where you come in. Because maybe you've been praying along with me. Maybe you've got your own list, the things you haven't spoken out loud yet. The fears you've been carrying alone. The burdens you're too ashamed to name even in prayer. This isn't the prayer of a perfect saint. This is the prayer of someone weak who's choosing to trust anyway. Someone who's scared and admitting it. Someone who doesn't have all the answers and is finally okay with that. So go ahead. Add your own words. Fill in the blanks with your own specifics. Lord, the diagnosis I'm waiting on. Lord, the marriage that's falling apart. Lord, the child I can't stop worrying about. Lord, the debt I don't know how to pay. Lord, the loneliness that follows me into every room. He can handle it. All of it. He's not intimidated by your mess. He's not overwhelmed by your needs. He's not disappointed that you don't have it all together. And then this truth lands, not as a cliché, not as a platitude, but as an anchor for my soul. Here's the memorable truth: when you surrender your day to God, you're not giving up responsibility, you're placing it into the only hands strong enough to carry it. Read that again. Let it settle. Because for so long, I thought surrender meant passivity. I thought it meant sitting back and doing nothing while waiting for a sign. But that's not what this is. This is active trust. This is choosing, minute by minute, to believe that God is involved in the details I can't control. I stand up. My knees ache from the carpet. The coffee is still cold. The bills are still on the counter. The meeting is still on my calendar. Nothing in my circumstances has changed. But something in me has. I walk to my desk. I pick up the sticky notepad, the cheap yellow kind that loses its stick after 2 days. I write 4 words in black Sharpie. Lord, lead my steps today. I peel it off. I press it onto the bottom edge of my computer monitor, right where I'll see it every time I glance up from my work. This is my prophetic act. Not because the sticky note has magical powers, but because every time I see it, I'll remember, I didn't start this day alone, and I'm not walking through it alone either. I want you to do this with me. Right now. Grab whatever you have: a sticky note, a scrap of paper, the back of a receipt. Write those 4 words. Put it somewhere you'll see it. Your bathroom mirror. Your dashboard. Your phone lock screen. Your fridge. Let it be a monument to this moment. A reminder that you handed the wheel over. That you're not the one driving anymore. Because here's the truth that changes everything: the God who created the universe knows your name. He knows the fears you whispered into the carpet this morning. He knows the ones you were too afraid to say out loud. And He has already gone ahead of you into this day. He's already in that meeting room. He's already in that difficult conversation. He's already in that doctor's office. He's already in that bank line. He's already in that empty apartment. He's already in that moment of temptation. He's already in that decision you'll have to make at 2 p.m. You won't arrive anywhere today that He hasn't already been. So take a deep breath. Let your shoulders drop from wherever they've been glued up by your ears. Unclench your jaw.